Shut up and sit down.
That's awesome.
Hey, it's where the big boys play. SICW.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Episode number 62. Today we have some news, some extra people being announced for FanFest 2 coming up in 2 weeks. We have a match next week, May 4th. Come in your best Star Wars outfit. And that's pretty much it. We have Jim and Bobby here again. How's it going, guys?
No. Back me up. What's this coming your best Star Wars outfit?
May 4th is Star Wars Day.
May the 4th be with you.
I'm surprised they didn't catch me because I watch Star Wars all the time.
And you don't know.
It's only been a thing for like 10 years.
Oh, it's been longer than that.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah, maybe the Big Texan will have to come in as like Darth Vader or something. Or no, I can't be a bad guy, so I got to be like Luke.
Yeah, you're a baby.
Right. Well, then again, I am old, so maybe
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Obi-Wan. You know, I'm glad you guys didn't say Yoda because he's like 400 and something.
Yeah, but he's like too tall to be Yoda.
Too tall to be Yoda. Perfect. Okay. All right. Move on. Carry on.
How's the ticker?
Well, you know, I put it to the test first time this weekend. Had a match Saturday night. Actually, kind of two. You know, the promoter knows everything that's been going on with me. As a matter of fact, he didn't even want me to show up. But I told him that I'm cleared, told him that I'm going to show up. And he actually used me as an example because some of his regular people didn't show up. And they didn't almost die 2 weeks ago. So, you know, so at the end of the night, he always talks about the show and everything. And he goes, you know, Jim damn near had a heart attack the other week, and he's still here, was able to wrestle. But it went great. So the promoter took care of me, and I say that because it wasn't a singles match. It was a 3-on-3, so it was a big tag match, which normally can be a big clusterfuck, having so many people in the ring. But it went really smooth. You know, I was able to tag in and out. Didn't stay in for the whole time, you know. So I was able to get used to running the ropes again and tangle around with the person, but not for the long haul. So I think it was a good way to jump back into things and leading into mine and Bobby's match come May the 4th, which is also not a 6-man, but it's a tag match. You know, me and Bobby's worked together many a times. So, you know, I'll be able to tag in and out of Bobby, and hopefully we can just dominate the whole match. I know we got our hands kind of tied because it's Steve Fender and who's the other? Oh, and Attila. So, yeah, so it's going to be a daunting match, I guess you would say, but still, it's not going to be like a singles match where I got to be in there the whole freaking time. So, should be good. I mean, I think I'm going to be good. At the end of the show, there was also like a battle royal, so I was actually in there. And that was probably the longest time I was in the match because it was one of those that, you know, they don't start everyone in the match, but it's like 1 minute between people. And of course, I think I was like the 4th or the 5th one in there. So I was in there for pretty much the whole time. Matter of fact, I was one of the 4th people left in the ring before it ended. They got me out, and then it just dominated, and then left the guy standing. So it was pretty good. I have to
was that your warm up to taking on Bobby FanFest for the Bruiser Brody Cup?
No. So normally the champion will not be in that match because normally it's that match, then the championship match, or vice versa. It might be the championship match, and then because everyone's there for that Rumble, you know. So normally the champion's not in that Rumble as well. So Bobby will have to three-peat on his own. You know.
I will say though, the reverse order of that happened last year. I did go back for the title, and then the very next match was the Rumble.
Yeah, but you
and
went
I was
in for
exhausted.
yeah,
It was hot.
and that's a good reason too, because you don't want to. You know, he had to defend the Central States, so it's two different titles. But yeah, you don't want to exhaust out the champion and then put him in a singles match. You know, Bobby just unfortunately,
I wanted my title back.
They punished him that year.
If I get a chance to get my title back, I'm going for it.
There you go.
That's what it was. I was trying to get it back from Vincent that night.
Right.
But Jim, you didn't tell everybody who you wrestled for this past weekend, though.
Well, we'll just keep it at that. Don't want no gimmick infringement going on, you know. But it was a good show. It was a couple hours away, so it wasn't even in this local area. So that's good too. That way I can test the waters without anyone spying on me or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But very good. Now, one of the things you were going to talk about was the new people that Herb sent out flyers for.
Yep.
I kind of want to get to one of them because one of them just had a show, technically. Run through those people real quick.
Talking about Ross Hart?
No, but that's kind of cool. I've met Ross. Bobby, you met him too, right? In Vegas?
So I met him. Yeah, he was always talkative. Was he at our last Fan Fest?
No.
No, I don't think it
It
was.
was one of the other Hearts.
No, it wasn't Ross.
Yeah, I don't think it was Ross. But Ross, I do know we both met in Vegas, and then I hung out with him too in Iowa for the Hall of Fame out there too. Very nice guy. You know, Bobby's right on the money. He loves to talk, and it's kind of cool having someone that's in that Hart Foundation. You know that the Calgary people. You know, it's kind of cool that he's going to be part of this. Run through the other ones.
He'll be rooting for the Canadian loser.
We don't like to talk about him or any of his family members and Sean Vincent in the same sentence because they're like night and day.
Okay, moving on. We have Tony Guerrero.
Oh, another sweet guy. Now, in the WWF history, he was a multi-tag team champion out there for WWF. Very awesome guy. Again, out in Iowa, I actually had breakfast with him. It was me, Amy, him, and his wife, and I want to say there was Rich. I can't remember his name, but he's either the president or the vice president of the CAC. He was out there for breakfast, and what it was,
Rich England.
Yeah. What it was is out in Iowa. A lot of people don't know it, but there was, you know how Sam Mushnick was the president of the NWA? Well, out in Iowa, they actually had an office building out there, and they would go out to Iowa and meet up. It was almost kind of like the center of it because you know you had people coming in from Kansas, you had people coming from St. Louis. It's kind of like I want to say the Midway, but it was a nice destination. So they had an office building there, and where the Hall of Fame is, you can actually walk around, and it's like one of those historic towns that you know when you're walking down Main Street, it's all you know, kind of like downtown Belleville, how it's all the glass, like it's all the buildings that you can look through because the glass is in the front, but theirs are more older buildings that you know they didn't demolish or change throughout the times. They kept them the same, you know. So it's kind of cool looking through the downtown windows, and then you can come up to the building. You can't go into the building now because they actually renovated it and became apartments. But it was kind of cool. We were able to look up at the old building, and yeah, so it was just a small group of us, and he was one of them, him and his wife. So we kind of wanted to be not, I can't think of the word, but not nosy, but we wanted to look at the old building for the NWA, and then we had breakfast together, and very nice couple. I'm sure his wife is going to, I'm sure his wife is going to be there as well. Good people, and like I said, multi-time. It was with different partners too, so it wasn't the same guy that he had the tag team champions titles with. It was multiple guys, so that he's a good guy. Going to the next one because I think that's the one.
We have Justin and Ivana Race.
All right, so that's the one I wanted to talk about because have you guys seen the Dark Side of the Ring on Harley Race yet?
Not.
Very good one. I kind of wish, it's Dark Side of the Ring is kind of like what the title goes over. It's like the dark side of professional wrestling, or a topic. It could be either a guy or a situation. Like last year, like this program got a lot of people in trouble because they talked about Ric Flair and the plane ride from hell, and how supposedly he got a little handsy with some people that was working on the plane, and like a lot of people got in. Yeah, which is the truth. And statute of limitations, it's been years since that. And it's not like it was like such a hidden story. Everyone knows, anyone involved in the wrestling or follows wrestling knew about the plane ride from hell. And good old Jim Ross was talking about it. And then Ric Flair didn't like how Jim Ross was talking about him on the program. So they got into it verbally. And then, like, it was just a big old mess, and got Ric Flair in trouble, got him kicked out of WWE for a while. They did the whole thing where they pull him off the Hall of Fame. They pull him out of not the active rosters, but if you look it up on the internet, it doesn't show him on wrestlers from the days past. They kind of snubbed him like they snubbed Hulk Hogan when he said the N word. They just totally took him out. But over time heals everything. So they brought him back into the fold, put him back and everything. So now you can see his Hall of Fame speech and being inducted and everything again. But anyway, Harley Race. So they talked about Harley Race's time when he first started into wrestling, and how he was like he was a teenager basically. I want to say he was like 14, and that's when he started traveling. Originally he wasn't really a wrestler. He was assigned to be. Hey, hold on. Give me.
What are you doing down there, Jim?
Fucking dogs.
That's what you're doing.
Huh?
You said, what are you doing? You said fucking dogs. Jesus.
No.
That's a whole different show.
Yeah.
Debbie brought her squeezy toy up to my feet and was hitting it, so I didn't know if you guys can hear it or not.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But
Was that
anyway,
the dog's pineapple?
Anyway, he was basically a caretaker for a wrestler. Humphrey, he's a big old guy. He's like 400, 500 pounds. Humphrey something. But huh?
Wasn't it like Pumpernickel or something?
No. I don't know. He was just a really big, oversized guy, and he couldn't even shower. They talked about stories about how he would lay down on the ground, and Harley would take a garden hose and spray him down and actually clean him with a mop.
Happy Humphrey.
Happy Humphrey. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine. And they didn't even get into the nastier stuff too, because you hear stuff. You don't know if it's true or not, so forgive me, those two, if it's not true. But the guy couldn't reach around and wipe or anything like that too. So they didn't touch that.
802 pounds.
Yeah, crazy big. you know, he also had to drive him around and be a chauffeur, make sure he got to the places, and that's called paying your dues. And my God, did Harley pay his dues for having to take care of him. I don't think I would be a wrestler if I had to do what Harley did. And I know it's a different time back then, and you respected your elders a lot more. But I don't think I could have done that stuff.
At 14 years old.
Right. Go. But anyway, so it was a very cool story that they did. And, you know, Trevor Murdoch was on there talking, and Trevor Murdoch was definitely a Harley's guy. You know, even Attila wasn't on there, but Attila talks about being a Harley guy and about he actually was a Harley guy before Trevor Murdoch was. So it was kind of cool hearing from Trevor talk about it. But then you also had Justin on there, and Justin's his son, which is kind of weird. Never wanted to be involved in the wrestling. But that episode probably could have gone like 2 or 3 because they talked about his first wife. It was Christmas. They were coming home, and his wife was pregnant, and they were driving down. It was a snowy night, snow on the ground, and they got in a car accident. And Harley almost died. His wife died. She was pregnant with his son, or first child. Matter of fact, they thought Harley died. The ambulance people thought he died until he started to move, and they were like, "Holy shit, he's alive!" You know. So many stories, and so many stories they could have told. Because I know some stories that I'm not going to share on here. But some crazy stories that.
I'll have to ask Justin to come on and share them then.
Yeah. You know, and yeah, we might be able to try to do that. So Justin's a good guy, and I always thought he hated wrestling because of what it did to his dad, and, you know, and then I don't know. I would love to get the story from him of why he never decided to go into the business. Um, but that's kind of cool that they're coming, and that was the last minute ad, and it was kind of cool that it wasn't last week, it was the week before that Dark Side of the Ring aired. So that was pretty cool. Is there anyone else? Was those the last 2?
Well, we have, like what we talked about earlier, the blessing of not remembering who we featured because we have so many. So I don't know if we featured LA Smooth yet.
He was actually one of the first ones that was announced for it. Yep. Now he's actually part of the bloodline. So it's kind of cool. I don't know how everyone is related, but I know he's part of the bloodline. So I mean,
Well,
just
he's
to have a
related by
member of that.
tattoos alone.
But yeah, so
our perennial also, Jerry Briscoe is going to be there just because it's going to be special. Isn't the whole family going to be there?
No, not everyone from Jerry Briscoe. All the Ortons are going to be there. Well, most of all the Ortons are going to be there for them inducting Cowboy Bob Orton in there. Let's see here, Jerry Briscoe though, man. I mean, when you're talking about St. Louis wrestling, you got to talk about the Briscoes. Jack Briscoe, Jerry Briscoe. You know, Jack was an NWA champion, and he had a long tenure too. And Harley Race is the one that beat Jack to become for Harley's first title. He beat Jack Briscoe for it. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, so it's the Briscoe brothers. You know, they were also kind of what helped get Vince McMahon owning a lot of the territory, or not just a lot of the territories, but the main one down south. I think it was Georgia Championship Wrestling. The Briscoes owned a portion of it, and I think they owned, since there's 2 of them, I think they own a majority, and they sold their shit to Vince McMahon, which kind of wiped out that territory. And that's a big reason why McMahon's was able to go down south and kind of wipe them out. But yeah, Jared Briscoe. And plus, he's a great guy, man. He loves to talk too, loves to tell stories. Matter of fact, in Iowa, kind of a bad thing. It was, I think, our first night there, and we were all, as wrestlers do, we all meet up in a bar, and we were, throwing back a few, and then Jerry just got, I guess it was like a heat exhaustion or something. He just passed out in the middle of the bar, and it wasn't because he was drinking. So an ambulance came and got him, and his son Wes went to the hospital with him as well, and so did Bradshaw. Bradshaw was there, and Bradshaw went to the hospital. Him and Jerry and Bradshaw are like too tight. Plus they have their own podcast that they do as well. But yeah, I mean, Jerry ended up being fine. It ended up being just something like heat exhaustion or something like that. But kind of scary moments when legends, pass out, nearby you, and then you see an ambulance come and take them away, But he ended up coming back. He ended up feeling fine. And thank God for that. And, he is a big portion of why Iowa exists. It's basically Jerry Briscoe's baby out there. Iowa
I was
is
gonna say
split.
that's the importance of coming to CACs and the Iowa Hall of Fames and these fan fests, because it doesn't always have a happy ending like that either.
And we said it many times on this channel that we went to CAC one year, and it was the Memphis Wrestling. So they had Jerry Jarrett, they had Jerry the King Lawler talking, and then like a couple weeks after we left the CAC, Jerry Jarrett passed away, and then like a year later, Jerry Lawler, we almost lost him. And I heard Jerry Lawler's doing much better, and I heard he's actually doing stuff like Fan Fest. He's been doing one or two here recently, so looks like he's doing good enough to be actually getting out there and getting on the road again. So, but yeah, so it looks like that's the big show from May 4th. So that's going to be our next one here. Yeah, so you got Joe Helms versus Kowalski. And if Joe Helms beats Kowalski, he gets 5 minutes with Lucky P. Larson in the ring. If I hope it goes well, because Lucky will probably try to find a way out of it, or a way to get maybe his other team members in there to, refrain Joe from getting those 5 minutes alone. But I don't know how it's going to work out.
Lucky P is going to do his best Jimmy Hart impression.
And just run around the ring?
Run around the ring, run out there, go underneath and hide.
I hope not. I will be hopefully Joe wins, and I will be watching from the back with a big old smile on my face, hearing Lucky talk every time I come to the ring at TV tapings. Like, I just want to jump out of the ring and go chase him down myself.
I'm gonna have to try to refrain from laughing so it doesn't appear on the audio.
Yeah. So that night, that's the night that those two are going at it. Top Guns have a rematch against the LA Hustlers, so that's going to be a good show. And then me and Bobby's tagging against Attila and Steve Fender.
Now, when's the last time you two tagged for SICW?
Been a while. I mean, it was before it.
I don't remember last year you guys tagging at all together.
We went against the LA Hustlers, I think.
Yeah, we did.
The last time.
Year?
This is last year, because I was already the champion, and I think you might have been the Central States champion at that time.
I thought so, yeah.
And yes, it was like pretty much champion versus champions, because it was me and him versus the LA Hustlers, and that was right when we first started coming back to the fairgrounds, because we were in the big hall for that one. I remember
that. That's when I first started coming, is when SICW went back, because I was there for that show, because I had a headache an hour in. It was so loud.
Yeah. That was a pretty big crowd. I mean, big enough where we had to have it in the big room, instead of the small area in the back, which is still very big, but there's just that night, I want to say, Tito Santana was there that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool having Tito in there, and I was able to get his book, and actually, I think Bobby sat down with him too in the back. It was great. He was very open and honest, and would sat down in the middle of us and just was telling us everything about the road. Some of us wrestlers, we asking questions because we know about WrestleMania 3 and who he wrestled and different stuff like that, and without skipping a beat, man, he was able to answer them and tell us stories about what happened back then.
And he'll be at FanFest as well, won't he?
Yes, he will. Yeah, so sorry to double back and forth between, and both these shows are in May. This show is the one that's coming up next. Of course, this is May 4th at the fairgrounds. And then we have the big Fan Fest also in May, but it's the 17th and 18th. 17th being a Friday one-man show.
Bill.
Bobby with who? Bill After. How
Bill
about
After.
that? I actually remembered it. First
So you
time I
can't
was
see
able
him,
to
so-
remember that. But yeah, so it's a one-man show with him, which is kind of cool. I kind of heard as a comedy routine / type of trivia, so I'm down for that. And
Yeah,
then
but Bill has been around since the beginning of mainstream wrestling, so he can just tell stories, and it could be comedic.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's kind of how it's going to be because the last time he was in, he mainly just talked, and man, everyone was having a good time because just the stories he did tell. But I do know it's supposed to be somewhat of a comedy routine, and a lot of wrestlers are doing that nowadays. It's they show up to comedy places and have like a comedy / storytelling time. And I've been to a couple. Jim Duggan came through, and I went to his, and he was pretty funny. And and then again, it was a lot of just road stories that were just hilarious.
Or others go into acting like The Rock, and no matter what they do, it's comedic.
One thing I wish is I would have made it to Rowdy Piper. Did that originally as well before he passed away, and my God, I would have loved to heard his stories because that was like the golden era of wrestling back then.
He was
Imagine
just a funny dude.
what he would tell. I mean, he would be that raunchy comic. I want to say, where Jim Duggan, he's all USA and everything's good, But I would have liked to hear Rowdy's version, being like the top heel turned babyface turned actor. I'm sure he would have been. His stories would have been great.
Well, They Live is still a great film.
It's a great film, and they still talk about it today because it's the what if. Because if you listen to Rowdy talk about that film, or if you listen to the director, they claim it's a biography. That it's legit, but you never know.
So Roddy was always out of bubblegum?
Hey, you never know. This world's a crazy, fucked up place. And if you listen, there was Billy Corgan, president of the NWA. There is he was on a Howard Stern show, and he swears to God that he was at this place talking to this person, turned and turned back towards the person, and he actually seen him shift. It was a shift changer, shapeshifter, and he said he was just blown away with this guy and how he did it. And then the guy, since he was caught, he did it right in front of him, and he swears to God about it. So you never know.
Had nothing to do with it.
Then again, he was a rock star. That was probably back when he was really heavy into drugs and alcohol and everything like that. But who knows?
But
crazy
Like Big
fucking hard.
Lebowski when he's floating down the freaking bowling lanes and stuff.
But yeah, so then May 18th was the big long day, and it's gonna be a long, great day. You know, we're gonna start off at the Fan Fest. So over 60 people, and you know, now that Ross Hart has been added and the races have been added, you know, well over 60 people that you can come and get the autographs and talk to and listen to some stories, and it's gonna be great. And then we got the Hall of Fame inductions, which you know, Gary Jackson is up for an award. I think it's the Sam Mushnick Award.
Yep.
Sorry. And then, like I said, Bob Orton Jr. is going to go in. And then we got the wrestling show. So we already know that there's the Bruiser, Brody, Larry Matisick, Tony Costa Battle Royal, which Bobby is a two-time back-to-back winner of.
Going to be 3.
Going to be a third.
Well, your title's on the line too, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah, my title's on the line. I'm not too sure on who it's going to be up against yet. I know there's a mixture of people that's in the works. You know, I still owe Peyton a rematch. I still owe, God, what's his name? I already forgot him. See, he was a friend of mine, and then I got him tagged with me, and then he turncoat on me. Bull Bronson. I still owe him something. Not that I owe him a title shot. I owe him a little something, maybe a lariat or something.
Now,
And
Central
then,
State's on the line during the Fan Fest also. Is Steve
Was that
coming back?
not when Steve was supposed to face Greg Anthony, or is that another time?
Is
you
that
know what? I think it is.
Assuming
Yeah.
he's still champion by then.
Well, so I mean, he's still the Central States. He's still the AIWF
national champion? Yeah.
and he's going against Greg Anthony for the world. So I mean, it's crazy. He could be a 3-belt holder.
which AIWF's world is actually world, not like WWE's world, which isn't.
I don't know.
Well,
You can kinda
AIWF
claim
has 30 countries.
yeah, that's true. But the WWF does go
World
to
what?
different
The Wildlife
countries.
Federation?
Huh?
The Wildlife Federation?
No, sorry, did I say F?
Mm-hmm.
WWE does go to different countries, and you know, because they just was in Australia, and I know they got another place in Asia they're going to, or is it Iraq or something that they're going to? One of the places over there.
I'd like to see him go to Iran.
You know, unfortunately, I would say if the money's there, they probably would. You know, you never know. Plus, they always did the wrestling for the troops, and that was always in Iraq or Iran. So they've already wrestled there, just not on a big grand scale like in you know, an arena or something. But that title definitely has gone around the world. Not like the AIWF though, because that's still like the territory system. So there's other different organizations that title can be defended against. Where the WWE
veiled point that I was trying to make.
Okay.
It's all the WWE is always going to stay here. AIWF can go to any of the 30 other countries.
Right. But yeah, so you know he's gonna get you know, Steve Finner is gonna get defeated May 4th. I mean that's a fact. So I mean what he does on May 18th, you know, that's another story. Me and Bobby don't have anything to do with that one, but you know,
I didn't know if he had any other title defenses before then either, anywhere else.
That's true. I mean, because Steve Fender wrestles for WLW. He's wrestled for Mid States, I believe. He wrestles for New Breed Wrestling, so he does get around.
When you're one of their champions, I believe you have to travel a little more too. Go to even more places.
You know, the last champion was from Texas, and you know he had to come up here to Illinois to wrestle. So it's not saying that you know he doesn't have to follow this guy's. If the last guy had anything already scheduled and planned, since he lost the belt, Steve has got to pick up those dates. So if he had something scheduled in Texas or anywhere else, Steve's got to go there and defend that thing. So who knows? But it'd be nice to get a world title in our locker room, and then we can knock him off, and one of us can be the next world champion. That would always be a nice little thing to put on your resume.
Oh yeah.
But yes, that's May 18th. Big wrestling show, the Hall of Fame, and then the over the 60 legends that you can meet.
Bobby's favorite picture.
Which leads us up to the melee on the midway. So that's going to be very cool. Did I say it wrong?
Melee?
You can say melee.
Melee.
I've only heard it called a melee.
Well, I'm not exactly one that knows how to talk right. But yeah, so that's going to be like one of a kind show right there.
We have wrestling, racing, music, all three cuts. Girls and booze.
So
what's not to like?
On the top of this, we talked about what we were going to talk about. I said I had a list of things I wanted to talk about, and Ludacris is one of them. So Ludacris is going to be the guy that's going to be bringing us all home that night. He's going to be the one having the big concert. Now there's going to be some other bands having some shows that night and the next night.
The Moonrise band.
Right. So Ludacris, he was on a podcast, and I'm gonna reference this TikTok guy named Kiefer Man. Yeah, Kiefer Man is the guy from TikTok. But he talks about how Ludacris was just on a podcast, and the guy who was hosting it, said there's three things in the world of music that everyone ever questions. And he said it's who actually let the dogs out? Is Annie really okay? And the next one, he asked Ludacris, did that bitch ever move? If you guys catch it, because is one of his favorite.
Bitch, get out the way.
Yeah. Move, bitch. And Ludacris said, no, that bitch never moved out of the way. So it was just something that I read this morning. I was like, oh my God, that is great.
That is
funny. I
like
wonder if we're going to get sued if I use that as my entrance song at that show.
Probably, considering 4 million people on ESPN are going to watch and 40,000 in the arena. So, yeah.
Well,
hey, maybe he'll just come out and sing it.
On ESPN? I don't know.
Well,
they got a blue button.
If the whole show is going to be broadcasted, they're already going to have the rights to that song to be broadcasted on the channel. Yep. So who's to say one extra time it can't be played?
Really?
We'll have to ask.
But anyway, so that so it's going to be some racing. They're going to do their trials in the beginning, and then we're going to have some wrestling, and then they're actually going to run the race. And there's going to be some wrestling, and then the bands kick in, like the Wainwright country band would be playing, and then of course Ludacris.
Have we heard anything? So I heard the racetrack got torn up from a tornado.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
That's what the old lady was saying.
But touched down, but I didn't hear about the racetrack getting hit.
I figured, like, with NASCAR and everything, they would put every dime they needed to make sure it was ready.
Oh yeah, they still got time. They still got the whole month of May and then some part of June.
Yeah. Well, one day in June.
Yeah, that's true, but it's not like they race every weekend.
No, like I said, they're hosting a NASCAR event. I'm sure they will spend whatever they need to make sure NASCAR can be there.
Right. All right.
Yeah, the pictures show some damage.
Does it really?
Some events have been canceled.
That's what the old lady was just talking about it. She's like, you guys going to be there? And That was my same response to her. Is I'm sure they will spend whatever they need to spend to get it ready for NASCAR.
Yeah, it was only the drag strip though for NHRA.
Oh, okay. So that's not even the NASCAR races.
No, but all the stands were
That's what I
repositioned on
heard.
the
Like
track.
some of them were. I heard some of them were toppled over.
Yeah, onto
Well,
the drag strip. But the
well,
oval's fine.
I agree with Bobby. They're probably going to throw so much money. It's a big corporation that owns that racetrack now, so it's not like
Yeah,
it's
Worldwide Tech.
right.
Well, and let's face it, that's an act of God, which insurance is going to pay for. So they'll just pay to get it done really fast and then get reimbursed.
Right. But those are the three shows that are coming up. So definitely, to get your tickets for this last one for the racetrack, you can come to the two other events, May 4th and May 18th, because people representing the racetrack are going to be there, and you can buy your tickets there. So at our shows, and it's a lot cheaper for you to buy your tickets there. And Bobby, you said that you already bought your wife a ticket. How much was the ticket?
So they sound like different seating, so maybe some different prices on stuff. But hers was $31 and some change.
And so even if you buy the ticket for the wrestling, you get everything else thrown into it. So, I mean, it's a
Yeah,
hell of a deal.
you actually buy the ticket for the racing. I bought it at the wrestling show, but it's for the entire day event.
Yeah, so you get all of it. You get the racing, the wrestling, and the Ludacris and everyone else playing. So,
And one of the
hands down,
VPs of Worldwide Tech said if you buy for both days, you get a discount the second day. If you buy it at our event on, the 4th.
yeah, the Sunday is, that's the main racing is on Sunday. And then they also have concerts that night too. I know that Dixie Chicks is going to be there as well, but they announced a handful of people that are going to be there Sunday as well. So the whole weekend is going to be a lot of. It's just that the wrestling is only for Saturday. So, but a lot of racing, a lot of concerts, and we talked about this a little last time that they're trying to throw everything out there to keep their fans there. That way, you can camp there, you can bring the RV in. They want the fans to stay there, kind of like a little Woodstockish thing. You don't want those people to go back into town if they're already, been through a concert and racing and they're drunk and stuff like that. Keep them on site, keep them safe. Type
You'll
one
have
of those
everything
things.
you need.
Right. They sell food and drink, and then right across the street is one of those truck gas stations that have like a subway and other things inside there. So
Subway and Taco Bell, it's a Flying J's. I stop there often.
There you go. So
Just ask Bobby for the menu and he'll give it to you.
They also have the SpongeBob ice cream.
Good to know. Good to know. So one thing that's not on my list that I literally just learned like a half hour before we went decided to tape this, and Bobby knows all about it except for what just was released. So back when me and Bobby, it was my second time going through wrestling, Bobby's first time going through it. But there was a gentleman that uh, uh, let's say he it's so weird because you could kind of see the stuff in him, but you didn't think that he had it in him to do this. But there's a guy named Sam Shelton who was a school teacher for Millstadt, which is a small little city of where
Freebird.
Freeburg. But the girl I think I guess lived in Millstadt or something.
Ashley Reed.
Yeah, Ashley Reeves. So Sam was a school teacher. He was dating a student, and evidently she went to break it off with him, and he got pissed off about it and tried to kill her. Actually, he thought he did kill her, and it was kind of weird because where he ditched the body is kind of like over by where the Little Devils are. It's what's the name of that park?
That's Citizens, but I thought he dumped her by the park right by the jail.
Nope. So it was the Citizens Park. As soon as you go into the park, there's like a big old ditch that's kind of like tree driven. There's a bunch of trees. And I remember it because I used to live with my father on the other side of the forest where this park was.
You
But
find a lot of bodies in that ditch.
I don't know about that, but they did find hers. But it was 30 hours after the incident. Um, the reason I'm telling this story is because he got out today. Early release. I don't know if it was for good behavior or not, but he was supposed to spend another 3 years in jail, and he was just released. It was just announced. And
So if he reaches out to you, he can't come on.
oh no! I would never have him on. And I say that because if she would have died, it would have been the worst case scenario. If she would have died, he would have spent the rest of his life in jail. But he got lucky that she stayed fucking hanging on and lived. And that's the only reason why he got supposed to be 20 years in jail. So he got lucky he didn't kill her. But at the same time, he should, to me, he should be spending his whole life in jail because he tried to kill her.
I agree.
Yeah, and it's sad to say that me and Bobby know two people who one tried to kill the person and one who did kill, and they were both wrestlers. Because Sam was a wrestler, he used to be at the training facility that we both trained at, and he was a weird person. And you automatically got that feeling off of him.
I don't know, but I think the common denominator is you two.
Sam actually got us back into Broadway after we were kicked out.
Yeah. Man, but
Common denominator is Broadway.
Right. Because the other guy was from Broadway too.
That's where it all came
Deflection.
together.
That's what psychopaths do. Deflection.
That's where it all came together, was Broadway. Sam and Heather knew each other.
Yeah.
They really did.
The fucked up part about that story, besides being that he tried to kill her, the fucked up part is that night that he dumped her body, he went to Wild Country and was seen on their cameras dancing the rest of the night. Doing that line dancing, that country dancing. And even that episode, because they taped there and then they broadcast it on TV. So he was even on TV dancing that night at Wild Country. Now, of course, Wild Country's not around anymore. But to have that goal to, assume you killed a person and then, change or get ready to go out dancing, that's just, that is a psychopath right there. But I figured I'd throw that out there before I forget about it because I just learned about it not even 30 minutes before we all got on here. But just fucked up situation. That was the first one. And then like our buddy, probably not our buddy anymore because what he did, but he was my buddy. We'll just say his wrestling name, The Future. I won't say his regular name. You just search that up and find out what he did. But he murdered his girlfriend, who was currently pregnant as well. And that was a bizarre freaking thing too, because he posted. I remember getting all these messages, and it's pictures of him on face. He put the picture on Facebook of his bloody hands, and it's crazy. And that kid almost made it. He was in the system for WWE, and he was on his way. If he would have just, that had to be a thing of someone snapping, because he was such the nicest person up here. But as soon as he made it down there and made it to Florida Championship Wrestling, something down there just made him change into a totally different person, and he snapped. Now, of course, I think he was married up here. When he went down there, he got a girlfriend and got her pregnant. And I think the girlfriend was going to tell the wife, and he wasn't going to let that happen. But then he did what he did, and then the whole world knew what happened. So kind of bizarre.
Then the wife knew even worse things.
Right. Yeah, so just wanted to say that. I don't know if you guys knew that AEW was in St. Louis this past Sunday. I should have had tickets to it, but I didn't act on it, so I didn't go. And where I was wrestling Saturday night, I didn't get back home until like 2:00 in the morning. So being my first wrestling match back, being on the road that long, I was like dead to the world. So I pretty much didn't do anything Sunday.
I was just tired from 9 hours of driving in the day before.
Really? You drove 9 hours away?
Well, no, it was 4.5 hours on Friday and then 4.5 hours on Saturday.
Now that was he won a championship, didn't he?
Greco state champion for Illinois. Yep.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. And
Yeah, hit some. It was. I'm not saying it was the only one because there's 16 mats going at once, but it was the only 5-point throw I saw in the day. That's where you throw a guy straight over your head and their feet go over their head.
Wow.
He launched this kid.
Landon is just killing it. So I mean, good props for him.
He's got time to focus and go to the next thing though. He's got practice tomorrow.
Now, what I heard though is that was like a hard tournament, right? That's like one of the hardest ones around.
It's for all of Illinois state champion for it, yeah. But now that was for Greco-Roman. Now he's got to do freestyle here in 2 weeks. Going to the state championship for that.
Now, I don't know anything much about Greco-Roman or freestyle, but if he does all that, does he ever get confused? Like start doing? Yeah, okay.
So we did like this. I'll call it a developmental tournament the Wednesday before Greco State, and he was making endless amounts of mistakes during that. Like your stance is completely different. Like in the other two styles, you want to get down low and you can take shots. Well, in Greco, you're not allowed to touch the legs, so you come in more like a judo stance.
Yeah, you come up more.
You keep your hands low. You do not want them getting inside, but you do stand up with it. And he kept at that developmental thing going to a normal stance and like getting into front headlocks. But yeah, it's different rule sets.
Well,
and then the ground game is completely different.
More power to him, and he's got a hell of a future for him. But I don't know if I can do a 4.5 hour drive. That would probably kill me. Especially, mine was just a 2 hours and 10 minutes. And I drive a Camaro, so I'm this big old guy fitting in a small ass car, and my leg was just killing me on the way home. Just being so tied up into that thing. I couldn't imagine 4 hours in that thing.
It was all right. Like I said, it was 4.5 there Friday. Then we ate dinner and stayed in a hotel on the south side of Chicago, which was pretty sketchy. But it was $56, so whatever.
Oh
just
my God.
To sleep. Then we went to do the tournament on Saturday and drove home.
Now, does Landon want to take it to the Olympics, or what does he want to do?
As of right now, his goal is just to wrestle in college. And I think he can go D1 with it. Like I explained to him, D1's not just 15 schools. SIUE and Edwardsville is D1.
Really?
But I think he can get to D1.
That's easy.
Hey, hopefully he gets a scholarship or something, and he can go to a big fancy school and everything like that.
Yeah,
he keeps going the way he's going. He can.
Even for university, though, going to the Olympics is part of it.
Yeah. He just hasn't talked much about that.
I think he can kill it. He's doing well.
I say, if you look at my Facebook, I posted 2 videos. He did Corellan lifts, which are extremely hard to do. The guy is on the ground, like squirming. You turn the opposite direction, grab them around the waist, lift them off the ground, flip them over their head, and turn them. And that's another 4-point move that's really hard to do. and he did it to 2 different guys up there, including one in the championship match.
I mean, man, that's awesome. That's now is the other 2 still doing it? Oh
No,
no, I
they
guess
don't like
their
some.
season ended.
They don't like summer wrestling. This is so during the wintertime is what we call folk style. That's what's done in America, only America. The other 2 that Landon's doing now is freestyle and Greco. Those are done around the world.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, man, give him props for us because he deserves it. But anyway, AEW was here in St. Louis on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. To me, there was a couple of great matches on it. Now, I only watched the clips, but the one thing about we always talked about it here that big difference between WWE and AEW is WWE tells storylines, where AEW is more of a let's throw this super cool match together with no reasoning behind it, but being a super cool match. Well, I think they did a couple super cool matches, and one with the storyline at the tail end, and then they just ruined it. To me, the match was Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay. I think that's how you say his last name. Ospreay. That match. If you ever watch Will's matches in Japan, or even for that matter, Bryan Danielson's matches in Japan, it's a fast pace. AJ Styles was wrestling in Japan too. It's a fast paced, move for move type of matches, and that's what this one was. And I saw some clips, so I had to go back and watch the match. And it was, man, it was a great back and forth, and it was the Bryan Danielson that we should have gotten in WWE but never did. Coming from Ring of Honor to WWE, um, even like AJ Styles. AJ Styles is a watered down version in WWE right now compared to him in TNA or anywhere else, New Japan. We got like a watered down version of AJ Styles on his moveset. So this was a great match back and forth, but how they ended the match was Will hurt Bryan Danielson doing this move, and he did the move. The ref called for medical because Bryan was down, he was hurt, and supposedly Will didn't see that the ref called for medical and went ahead and did another move and then pinned him. And even though the ref called for medical, he still accepted the pin. And then as soon as he counted the pin, he, of course, let the medical come in and work on Danielson. Now, evidently, so many people were wondering about how Bryan was that AEW released a statement saying, well, this was just actually just part of the match. It was just, don't worry about him. He's okay. It was just something that we added on to the end of the match to make it look, better, get Will over. And to me, that like
That's
just
really
ruined,
great.
that ruined the whole fucking thing.
They didn't open the curtain; they tore it down.
You got the emotion that you wanted. Why not run with it?
Right, and I think that's what they're missing. I mean, you got Tony Khan, who is a fan, and there's nothing wrong with fans, but he's a fan with his own promotion. So he's throwing together these cool freaking matches, and it's not even like every show has a cool freaking match because we all know that it seems like it's only a pay-per-view match, a pay-per-view show that they have a cool match on. So you got to wait 2 months or 3 months for another, super match, or for him to spend $2 million to get another person in, so they can have that cool match and then sit in the back, the rest of the months. But it was a great match, and then they just ruined it. They had a great story that they were telling back and forth, and then Bryan got hurt, and they had, like I said, this great thing with the medical coming in and the ref trying to get him in, but then he ended up counting Will as the victor. Yeah, they had the emotion there. The fans, was concerned, and so they released saying, "Oh, don't worry about him. He's fine." professional wrestling, you know, you know.
And say you had so much heat on Will Ospreay. He could have gone so many directions after that, and then you just killed it instead.
How many people are just not getting it there?
You know, I don't know, because I don't know if
It's the
Tony
same thing I
Khan-
said was wrong with WWE for a long time. You don't have wrestlers writing stories anymore. For a long time, they had TV shows writing theirs, and now you have a fan writing theirs at AEW. Like, wrestlers who actually get it should have a huge impact.
Yeah, and I agree with that, because, you know, there's always, for the longest time, there was always a wrestler that was in control of the match. And the booker, they have a committee, and it was always wrestlers on that committee. You know, it was Jim Cornette, Paul Heyman, you know, and then they started adding people like WCW did it too, where they had it was one of the guys from the TV show The Wonder Years. One of the actors loved wrestling, so he became one of the people on the committee for WCW. And
Probably the later years when they were going downhill.
but so
It wasn't the Wonder Years.
where WWE started doing the same thing, and they actually had ads in papers and magazines. Do you want to? Are you a writer? You know, are you able to tell stories? Let's bring you in. And so they would just bring people in who were just writers, and they had no clue on what emotion could be pulled out of a match. And then, you know, and that's why a lot of people in the creative was just let go not too long ago with the whole you say Vince McMahon and all that stuff on all that shit that happened, but there's a lot of writers that were leaving, and now it's all like Triple H is in more control over what the situations. And, you know, NXT, Shawn Michaels is in control, so you got wrestlers back into those spots now, and that's why WWE is kind of kicking ass right now. You know, with the whole Cody story, you know, it brought a lot more fans back in. Me being one of them. You know, I hadn't
Well,
watched.
you got to keep them though.
Right, that's true. And speaking of AJ Styles, I heard that that's who he's got. They're going to build a story with now, so it's going to be Cody versus AJ, and that might get started tonight. You know, being tonight is Monday, because I know Cody is supposed to be on Raw tonight, and
I thought he was off again tonight.
is he?
I saw memes complaining that he was we're done
So,
with
Bobby,
part-time
why-
champions, but he missed Raw and SmackDown.
Why do you think they're not going to keep the fans that they were able to garner back from the Cody
If they
Rhodes
make
storyline?
changes going into stories that make sense, they can keep them. If they go back to PG era type BS, people are just going to leave again.
Well, and right off the bat, they lost to two top heels. You know, The Rock is making a movie, and Roman is taking a break. And Roman was holding that down for the last year or so, or you know how many days he's been the champion. And then The Rock kind of elevated that whole storyline, which brought in more people. But now The Rock is gone. Now Roman is gone. So now it's do or die for Cody to see if Cody can maintain or even build it up even more. Um, I mean, right now, you know, Cody's going back. Cody's for SmackDown. So the only good thing about Cody and his reign right now is there's still bloodline opportunities going on, especially with our friend's son. You know, Haku has been a longtime friend of mine and Bobby's, and his son just got. He just signed a deal on WWE, and he's been on SmackDown the last two Friday nights. And there's rumors that his brother, who he was running as a tag team with, is being called up too. So the story, the Bloodline storyline is still there, and is still on Friday Night SmackDown. So
Jacob Fatu is also under contract now.
yeah, so
And
I'm
he's
wondering
probably
how
the
that's gonna
most
work.
athletic of all the Samoans right now.
I mean, a lot of people saying that they're going to build this up to be a bloodline civil war, where it's going to be bloodline versus bloodline, which The Rock versus Roman was supposed to be. But now they're just going to make it even bigger.
I'd say you can still do that. Rock gets done with his movie. You've already got the split there. He takes one side, Roman takes the other side.
Yeah.
It could work.
Oh, definitely it could work. Because I can see it. They already split from the Usos. So, the Usos are probably going to tag again, I would assume. And then go against, Haku's son and, all the other. So it should be interesting. But another couple things. Moxley beat, I can't think of his name, and I didn't write it down. Moxley went over to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he became their world champion. So that's kind of cool for John Moxley. And that title is actually going to be defended in AEW as well, since Moxley is he's contracted to AEW, but he's got an open contract where he can go anywhere else. I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks, and I'll probably watch this just because they said that it was a great match. FTR, which is like a throwback tag team, they're like the Andersons. They're like the updated version of the Andersons from the Four Horsemen. They went against the Young Bucks, and supposedly it was a great match. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks because they.
WB4D2 isn't responding. Please check its network connection.
Good to know. My Alexa is now going off. The Young
Alexa,
Bucks,
bye Jack.
they they probably hold the title of the tag team that done the most super kicks in a match. Because they at one time they did like 20 some odd super kicks in one freaking match, and that just drives me insane.
Who were you saying brought that to wrestling? It was a judo guy.
It just shows how weak their super kick really is.
Right. Yeah, because Sean got it done with one, but they need 20.
I said they do 20 and still don't get the pin with it. They should probably stop doing super kicks.
Did they even touch them?
Well, I mean, one thing I'll tell you.
Maybe that's the problem. The wind is doing it. They're trying to hit him with that key.
At least they know to hit the super kick and then slap the thigh. Unlike the tag team that I watched the other month where the guy would slap his thigh and then kick the guy. So, I mean, they got that going for them. But at the end of the match, FTR ended up losing because the guy dressed up as Sting came out of the audience and attacked them and helped the Young Bucks win. Now, security grabbed him and everything and then pulled the Sting mask off. And it ended up being that Jack, is his name Jack Perry? Yeah, Jack Perry. He's the one that got into the altercation with CM Punk, which got CM Punk fired. And the funny thing is, on that, there was a big to-do that AEW was going to release this backstage footage of CM Punk creating that problem. And, so the numbers for AEW was like 700,000. And then they jumped up for that show that CM Punk was going to be outed on. And everyone actually started cheering for CM Punk when that part of the show was on. And it jumped up to like the 800,000. And then the next AEW show went back down. So literally just talking about CM Punk was able to give them ratings. But when that was done, the ratings fell again. But Jack Perry was the one that CM Punk got into the argument with and got in a push match with. And, they kept Jack Perry and they fired CM Punk.
But on Raw tonight, Medusa saying that it's the Women's Championship Battle Royale.
Yeah.
They had Medusa on there?
Say again?
You said they had Medusa on there?
No, she was just saying.
Well, that's because their champion, Rhea Ripley, has been hurt. And it was in a backstage segment. And who was the girl that she fought?
Liv Morgan.
Liv Morgan. It was just a backstage fight scene, and Liv threw her into the wall, and it fucked up her shoulder or some part of her arm, which is kind of funny. I think because they let Seth Rollins carry his belt, even though he was hurt and couldn't wrestle. They let Roman Reigns carry his belt, even though at one point he was hurt and couldn't wrestle. But they couldn't let Rhea keep her belt, even though she was hurt and cannot wrestle. So I don't know if it's a man.
From what I don't know if it's true or not. From what I heard, Roman Reigns was bigger than just being hurt. I heard he was actually going through cancer treatments on all the off time.
I'm sure he was, because he still had. I mean, he had an interview where he said that this is something that's not going to go away. He's always going to live with it. So there's always going to be that chance that he's going to have to deal with it and go and fight to get into readmission and everything else. So
it's a big props for him for being able to do both there.
Yeah. Did you guys see the video of Seth though? Did you guys watch WrestleMania Sunday, the Sunday version, when Seth came out and tried to interfere for Cody? He came in and did this kick, but he did this kick with his leg, his knee that's fucked up, and it shows it to where his leg from the knee down was going the opposite direction. Where you could tell that the leg was fucked, and that's why the rest of that match he was on the outside, and then when Cody won and everything, he couldn't get into the ring. He stayed on the outside, and Cody actually reached over and shook his hand to thank him because he couldn't stand. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, more props to Seth. Yeah, so that was Liv Morgan. John Moxley, yes. Swerve beat Samoa Joe for the World Heavyweight title. Now, Swerve was actually in NXT and WWE, but it was released a few years ago. Came into AEW, went through the ranks. Everyone got behind him a few months ago, and they swore he was going to be the champion going against MJF. But it never happened. And then, Samoa Joe was the champion right now. And Swerve, everyone couldn't believe that Samoa Joe got the title before they gave it to Swerve. So they finally righted that justice, and Swerve is now the AEW champion. But, yeah, so that's pretty much what I had written down of what I want to talk about.
What about the releases? Because the WWE had their latest rounds of talent cuts.
There was only
Jinder
one guy.
Mahal was crazy.
Yeah, Jinder Mahal was the only guy that I could actually tell you that I knew.
But it's crazy to release him. Like, they haven't put him on TV in so long, and then they call him up to do that promo with The Rock, nails it, and then they release him.
Yeah. I don't know.
Dropped opportunity.
Yeah, and he.
Well, Von Wagner, he got released too.
Yeah, and there was a bunch of girls too, but
Zia something. She's a good wrestler, but
Zia
they never did anything with her.
Jan Quinn.
Yeah, so I don't know. I expect there to be some more. Because there's normally around 15 to 20 that they release. And was that I think they released like 6. But Jinder was the one that, and he was once a heavyweight champion for them. And he when he first started, when he was in the 3-man band, he was a really skinny toothpick looking guy, and they let him go then, and he come back, and he was this built monster when he came back.
So at that same time, they released Drew McIntyre as well.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this CT Fletcher workout video, old time bodybuilder. Love watching, high energy. But he brought those two on, and Jinder Mahal, and they had the big guy from the Wyatt family.
Braun Strowman.
They had Braun Strowman doing the workout with those two, and like Jinder Mahal was out working all of them.
Yeah, I mean, he came back as a freak. And then when he came back, that's when they pushed him, and he became world champion. He was a good heel bad guy, and that's unfortunately, being from where he came from over in Asia, and not Asia, but Iraq and all that, they always make you a heel. Very rarely do you become a good guy. But he played it pretty well, He had his little faction around him because he always had like 2 or 3 guys that was, watching out for him and breaking all the rules and everything. That's when, him and Randy Orton were going back and forth because they had that version of the Hell in a Cell, but it was, something else rules is because the cage was made out of wood. You don't remember it?
I remember Great Khali having a Punjabi death match with Bamboo.
Yes. So it was the same scenario. And matter of fact, he came out to help Jinder Mahal. The main reason I remember this is the first time we were in Sandoval wrestling for Bill Henson. Bob Orton was there as a special guest. He was your referee, wasn't he?
That was the second time we were there then.
Oh, okay, so it was the second time.
No, you're right. That was the first time. It was a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Okay. So, I always get to the shows early. And, of course, Bob gets to the shows early. And we sat down together because they already had a TV and WWE was playing. I think it was on their YouTube channel. And all of a sudden, that match with Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal came on. And how cool was it to be sitting next to Bob, watching his son wrestle in this shaped of a cage match. But it was a pretty cool match it was a fucked up cage. Hands down, it was a fucked up cage. But being there watching, with his father, I'll always remember that match. It wasn't even live. It was just, it was on YouTube, and it just so happened to pop up as the next video to watch. And I just thought it was so cool. I think Amy actually took a picture of me and Bob watching Randy work. So, that was kind of cool. But, yeah. Yeah. But even they said that Drew had put a message out on X saying, "This happened to you once before. Come back bigger and better like it did." So, there's never, no, or never in WWE. There's always a way back. So many people will come back. So, if he goes about it and gets built like a freak again, and whatever he did wrong, he corrects, who's to say he might come back?
You mean do well against, when they bring him in?
Well,
so even still, right?
Yeah, even Drew McIntyre, when he was in the 3-band, when he was there the first time, he was very skinny. He still had the long hair, but when he got let go, he went down to TNA for a while, and then he went back home to wherever he was. He Scottish? He's either Scottish or something, but there's a big wrestling promotion out there that he wrestled for, and then he became, big and better looking, and he became their champion for that place out there. And then they brought him back, and now he's a multi-time world champion. Even though his last time he was the champion only lasted for like 30 seconds. If you guys watch
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay, Jim, who do we have coming on next week?
I don't know. Be a little surprised. I don't know if we want to bring him out next week or if we want to wait another week to get a little bit more further into May. But we'll see what we can do. I'm sure we'll put out a little spoiler depending on who
Yeah, we can wait till May 6th.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, so Bobby, let's go a different direction and bring on your paranormal guy next week.
We can try.
Yeah. Who's your paranormal guy?
It's a guy I work with. He hosts the podcast Hollow Sky.
Really? I've never heard of it, but if it's paranormal, it'll be pretty cool, I assume. I'll have to check it out. I'm big into putting in podcasts.
Yeah, you want something a little different? Check them out. They're pretty good. They got fans from all over the country too.
Cool. Well, you know how
Plus,
always
he's going to be the one taking you guys around to get scared at the haunted graveyards in St. Louis. I'm going to film it, and the cameraman doesn't die.
I mentioned it to him about us doing going to a haunt together, and he said that they have wrestling fans on their podcast. He'd be down for it. We both record.
There we go.
Cameraman always lives, never gets hurt.
I don't know. Remember that one movie? What was it? They were running through the woods.
And it was Blair Witch.
Blair Witch. Those cameramans always died in that. So, I don't know, maybe we'll get lucky. I mean, maybe you'll not. Hey,
yeah, but out of all three of you guys, I'm the shortest.
So you're the easiest prey. What I'm hearing is you're the easiest prey.
No.
You don't have to be the fastest guy. You just have to be able to trip the other guy.
Yeah, but nuclear bombs now are small.
Again, if something's chasing us, I don't have to be faster than you. I just have to trip you.
Right.
Yeah, but I won't run. I'll protect you. No worries.
So, I did get some eBay stuff delivered today. That was great timing because it's been a little while, you know, been in the hospital and all that bullshit, you know.
Yeah, you're trying to die.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to live. So I bought, I would say I won because they were auctions. I am pretty cheap, so they got to be stuff that I can win, you know, under $20 or something like that. But still adds to my collection. So I bought this collection of thumb wrestlers. Now, my main collection has always been the LJNs, the big rubber guys. Like this one's Hillbilly Jim. Now, I didn't win this one. I brought him out as an example. No, matter of fact, he is autographed, and that got him autographed from that bar that me and you went to meet him the first time. But so
I got a picture of that somewhere.
Yeah, this is my main collection here is these big guys. But LJNs actually had, I guess you would say, 4 types of wrestlers they would make. So they would make these big guys, and then the same figure, they made them smaller. So, you know, just for comparison. So my collection, I'm trying to get all 5 types. So the big guys, the small guys, and then the thumb wrestler, the same character. Now, the other 2 different ones, like I said, they came out with 5. There was gigantic wrestlers, but they only made 2. It was Hulk Hogan, which I have, and then the Ultimate Warrior, which I don't have. But
good luck finding them.
Well, the other ones are even rarer. You remember the Stretch Armstrong guys from like the late 70s, early 80s? They only had like 5 or 6. And just like the big guys, I'm just going to throw a number out. There's probably like 32 different wrestlers. But on the small guys, they only, I think it was like probably 10. Probably the ones that sold the most of the big, they went ahead and tried to capitalize and make them small to see if they would sell too. And then the thumb wrestlers, again, it was not the whole line of the 32 or whatever, but there was like 10 of these guys as well. So what came in today was the short version of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which I have the tall one. I don't have the thumb wrestler for it yet because I'm not even sure if Ricky had the thumb wrestler. But Steamboat will always be a great legend to me, probably to Bobby too, because we had him in. Herb had him in for a show that we did, and this guy was such a joy to be around because he didn't. He used to be a guy that would hire you for WWE. You know, if he thought you were a great talent, he would bring you in, give you the tryout and everything. At this stage, though, he was just on the independents. You know, so Herb brought him in, and he didn't have to, but he watched every single match that night. And as soon as you came back through the curtain, he pulled you to the side, at least to me, and I think he did this for a lot of other people too. But he would not just have like a quick 30-second conversation with you. He would break down your match and tell you what you did great, what you did wrong, and what you should have done. And that was, to me, a highlight in my career. And I have a picture of him up on my office wall from that night. I always loved him, you know, being in the WCW or in the WWF at the time. You know, he was always a baby face. He was probably of the probably less than 5 people who never switched characters. And I say that as he never was a baby that turned heel to turn back to baby. He's always been a clean baby. And there's very rare, you know, John Cena is another one. You never seen John Cena as a heel. He's always been a baby. Now, he'll be a baby who can talk shit to you, but clearly he was always a baby. So, like I said, I already had the big version, but I had to get the smaller version because it's my main thing right now is since I won't be able to get the Ultimate Warrior, the huge one, or the Stretch Armstrongs, because most of those, even though they say they stretch and they won't break, most of them do break, and so they're just trashed anyhow. So those two would probably be very hard to get. But I got almost all of the thumb wrestlers. I actually got, let's see here. So 8 of them in the mail today. So you got Junkyard Dog, Hulk Hogan, lost his name. He's a Soviet guy. We actually met him before too. I don't know if you remember that.
Nikolai Volkov?
Yes. The Roddy Piper, and this is a pretty clean figure. Most of the time, the hot rod on his chest is all rubbed off and everything, and then the Iron Sheik, and got 2 aftermarket wrestlers, I would say, because they're not actual WWE or F at the time wrestlers. You know, these are the ones that were cheaply made, kind of knockoff ones. But they are all in the package deal. And pretty good deal. I think I got those for like $11. And then the Ricky by himself, I think he was like $7. So, you know, I'm a collector on a budget. But it's always nice when I can find a deal and I win the deal. But I wanted to show representatives of everything that I got there. So a lot of them now, I got the big wrestler, the small one, and then the thumb wrestler. Of course, I'll be trying to finish up. There's probably about 15 more LJNs that I need to get because like the last series was done in Canada and on a very limited release. Like our friend Haku, his character was the last run what it was is LJN sold out to a toy company in Canada, and they only released so many of those figures, and a lot of them didn't come down to the States. So Haku's figure, when I was up in Indiana a couple weekends ago, there was one in a package, and the package was beat up, and still wanted $2,000 for it. And I was with a friend of ours that went up there with us, and I said, "Man, that's a good deal." And he goes, "Is that really a good deal?" I said, "You check them on eBay, they go up for like $7,000."
Yeah, here's one for 15,000.
Yes, I mean it's kind of crazy, but they happen to be really good wrestlers, like the Ultimate Warrior. The only one that ever came out for him in that line was the last run, and his is extremely high as well.
That's what I'm talking about. 15 grand.
Yeah, Big Boss Man was another one. There's like there's three versions totally of Hulk Hogan, but two versions came out in that last run, and they're extremely freaking high. I don't know, maybe one day when I'm rich, I'll be able to get those guys. And I even remember Haku. I don't know if it was when we went out to breakfast with them or maybe sometime in Iowa, but I remember him telling me that he had a little nephew, and he had his figure still in the package, and they were talking about him going to college, and so his thing, he gave that figure that was still in the package mint to his nephew, so he would sell it when he needed to go to college. But he told him, he goes, "If I hear that you sell that for any other reason, I'm going to get you." So,
I wouldn't cross them.
Yeah, I wouldn't cross them either. Yeah, but that figure in Ravishing Rick Rude is another one too from that last run, and that figure sucks so bad because he's not even like a playable move where your hands move and the legs move. It's like he's positioned in a way that he's just there for a statue basically, but he's a rare figure to find. But yeah, so I just want to throw those out there. I didn't. The flea market was here in Belleville this weekend. Didn't really find anything that I needed, except for I did pick up 2 Star Wars figures. Talk about May the 4th, but and that was just some big stormtroopers that they had, and it was like $2 a piece, so it wasn't too big of a money deal, and satisfied my itch for that day. Man, doing all this talking, guys, my throat is hurting. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, I seen that we moved up a couple more followers since the last time we spoke. So I do want to say thank you guys that who are following us now. And always as we wind down our videos, if you like what you hear, you like hearing a lot about our promotions that we work for, and then major things that happen in the big promotions. And if you like us talking about them, definitely like and subscribe and comment on these videos. We still haven't reached our little top, our tier that we're trying to make, which is 500. We're getting closer every week. We're getting a little bit closer, but I would love to get that, pretty soon and start making. It won't be great money, but be enough that we can put aside and maybe. The great thing about YouTube is you might start off small, but once you get to a good amount of subscribers, then you got like 500 other people that could be sharing our stuff, and then you can jump really quick. And so once we get to 500, we might be able to make some pocket change that we can set aside. And we always talked about how if we can make this channel make some money, then we'll give back to the legends and bring them on and give them something, not a big payday, but maybe a little payday that they can come on, share their stories, and then make a little money on the side, And that's what we would love to do, is be able to get the people that we respect, the legends that we enjoy watching as a kid, to come on, share their stories. Because I tell you, hands down, if you ever get locked in a room with a legend and give him a beer, sometimes you don't even have to give him a beer. But then they'll just open up to you and tell you all these stories that just blows your freaking mind. And
That's another reason why we need Gentleman Jack to sponsor us. Give them some Gentleman Jack, sit down for a couple hours, and everything will come out.
And then I'll have my second heart attack. No, I agree with you. I can always sip a little Gentleman Jack. So if you guys want to reach out to us, or maybe we'll reach out to you guys and maybe
For
get
a
you
third time.
But again, like I said, I appreciate the subscribers that we do have. I do like that you guys are commenting, and Nathan tries to answer you guys as quickly as he can, but he's busy. So if he can't get to you right away, he will. But appreciate everything you guys for listening and liking our stuff. But we need to get the word out a little further. We need to get to that 500 mark, and then we can start. They always say once you get to 500, man, the followers just keep coming. And so we need to make to that first tier, so you guys can help us out and spread the word.
Well, in addition to that, those who stayed, it's the latest comments we've been getting and emails we've been getting is how people don't understand how we don't have more subscribers from the footage we put out, because we put out local legends, things that people's never seen before, and they're just surprised.
Yeah, me too. I'm really surprised that these legend matches haven't been pulling in more subscribers. Because on my personal channel, it's the smaller matches that normally get me a little bit more subscribers coming. And that's just me, a little local boy. I mean, we've had Kevin Von Erich and Kerry Von Erich and Von Roschke and Greg Gagne and so many other legends.
Ric Flair.
Yeah, and but yeah, definitely spread the word, get us out there. Like I said, we're just not tied up to wrestling. Nate and Bobby want us to do this Halloween stuff, and I'm down for that as well. And the movies that we were able to review and get back to you, which the Von Erich movie you can now buy, just in case anyone out there is interested. Yeah, it's now out on DVD, so you can buy that now. So I think I might buy that probably in the next couple of days or so, just so I can have my own copy. Even though I don't have a DVD player here, but
They still make those?
yeah, and
I got one. It's inside my Xbox.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, they're talking about not making DVDs anymore, so they might not be able to get them after too long. I'm sure you just
vinyls come back.
Yeah, vinyl and tapes, but I don't think those VCR tapes are going to come back or DVDs. Now that you can just go on a website and download the movie, it's going to be a little bit different, a little rougher.
Yeah, but you don't own it.
Well, I guess as long as
take it from you.
Oh, can they?
Yeah, I had to email Google because they took a couple
Your
movies
porn?
that I had paid for when they stopped carrying it, when they lost their license.
Yeah.
A couple adult movies.
Yeah. One of those.
Yeah, they were ones of you, Bobby.
Hey, you weren't supposed to download those off my OnlyFans.
Yeah, that was.
Well, I don't want to
pleasure.
deprive the rest of the world.
Rest of the
For
world
anybody
gets
looking,
subscribed.
it's called Troll Doll in the Bathroom.
Troll Doll.
That's just one episode.
Oh,
not all of them.
There's a series.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Man, yeah. So we're gonna have some guests coming back on. I've been kind of slacking on that department. Been going through some shit, and knew that we had the podcast to do, but didn't want to reach out to anyone because I didn't know how I was going to feel on a daily. And you know, it's my medication. I think I need to change it up around a little bit because there's some days that I think my blood pressure drops too much. Like today, you know, average blood pressure is 120 over 80, and I feel great in around 140 to 150 over 80. But I notice that if I take this the medicine how it's prescribed, 2 days that I did that, like today I was I was 70 over 50, and I felt like shit.
Too low.
Yeah, it was just too low. But I was taking it how they described it to me. So I think it's this one particular script that I need to either erase or take it at night instead of taking it during the day. But I'm playing around with it. I know I'm not supposed to be playing around with it, but if I do how I'm told, I feel horrible.
So your version to deal with it is to take the lowering blood pressure at night so you can die in your sleep from your blood pressure going too low?
Or maybe just taking that one out. Something. You know, my doctor was supposed to talk to me about this because the hospital told me that this is the concoction that we come up with to crash you down because you know I walked in at 245, so they're throwing everything. They're throwing everything at me to crash me down so it would come down because they were worried of me stroking out. And the last concoction that they came up with that got me to be cleared to leave the hospital is what I left with. But now I think it's taking me too low. Man, got the hiccups.
That's okay. You're hiccuping, Bobby's sleeping.
Rules are meant to be broken. I say you just break it. Fuck it.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking too. You know, because now I'm on a habit of testing my blood pressure so many times throughout the day, and I'm actually journaling them down and everything. But I also needed proof to say, hey, doc, take this one out of here or something. But we'll see. But we're off the subject now, so I'm just trying to wrap this up. Yeah, so thank you guys for subscribing. Please share the word. We'll get back to you next week as well, same time. This normally comes out on Thursday mornings. You know, we normally do a live premiere that you guys can watch and do all the comments with. And I love the guys that does. Always love to read your comments, so please keep that up. Help us get to that 500 level. That's our goal. Always been our goal for quite some time. You know, I've seen other podcasts have less criteria that they talk about and some reason excelled on the subscribers. I think the stuff that we talk about is really good, informative, historical with the old matches that we post on here. We just need help, you know, getting that mark. So please help us. But from everyone from the Squared Ring podcast, thank you. Have a good night, and we'll catch you next week.
Hey guys.
All right. See you guys.
Oops.